Welcome to the Jaron Jarvis channel. I am Jaron Jarvis. Today, I would like to introduce to you, guys. I think I joined a cult. I have been a reject my whole life. I've never had a girlfriend, and I have a shitty gas station job. During the holidays when my family sits at the table, I sit in silence and try to avoid eye contact. I guess you can say I'm doing a pretty mediocre job at life. The only redeeming factor to my existence are the forums I frequent every day. Online, I'm a rich successful businessman with a hot girlfriend and not a care in the world. I know it's pathetic, but I'm not hurting anyone. I just desperately want to feel important, even if it's to strangers online. Things were pretty normal on the forums, and I met some pretty cool people. I expected to get teased and mocked by some, but that's the internet. What I didn't expect was someone to add me on my fake business account, claiming to have met me in a forum. That's weird. I don't link any of my profiles or anything on the forums. Of course I know how easy it is to find someone by doxing, so I didn't panic. I was more annoyed than anything. My profile picture was a character from an anime I watched, so he didn't know what I looked like. At least if you are who you say you are, our brotherhood could use a man like you, the stranger texted. He sounded pretty weird, but I played along. Your brotherhood? A gentleman's club. We're looking for new members of your status. Is your name really Dan Summers? As far as I know, yes. Well, Mr. Summers, if you want to partake, go to Columbia Tower by 9 p.m. tomorrow. The code to get in is in the darkness is knowledge. I'll be there. I responded, see you there. The man logged out, and I sat there honking about what I just got myself into. Why did I tell him I'll be there? We literally talked for 2 minutes. We have no idea who each other really is. Well, at least I have tomorrow off. To get to the tower I had to travel to Seattle, a city about 3 hours away from mine by car. On the road I chastised myself for agreeing to whatever this meeting was, and not buying a better suit than the one I was wearing, but overall it was exciting. Being invited to a rich people's club? I must be pretty convincing to pull this off. I got to the tower an hour early, and the sun was just starting to set. As I pulled up, the valet approached me to take my keys and go off in my car. Never had that happen before. I walked up the step and opened the main doors to an enormous lobby, that was mostly empty save for a couple of men in elegant suits talking quietly. Classical music played at a hushed tone on an intercom, which added to the sense of elegance the lobby had. Old paintings were on the walls, nice couches pushed under them, there was even a fireplace to the left of the receptionist desk. Before I could get too familiar, a man walked up to me and broke my concentration. What's the code? He asked, eyeing me warily. It was one of the men from the quiet group in the corner. In darkness there is knowledge, I replied. He nodded and brought me over to the rest of the group. Mr. Summers? They asked rather than stated. You look no older than 20. He got me on that. I'm 18 and have yet to grow a single hair on my face. I let my profits do the talking. I shot back in my best tough guy voice. This seemed to have worked, because they ceased to question me. The closer we got to the meeting, I realized I still know nothing about the club. Every time I would ask one of the members, they would just say in time, Mr. Summers, so I gave up. An hour passed, and by then about 10 other people showed up, making a total of 17. We all walked to the lobby elevators and divided into 2 groups. Before I could step in with the first group, a hand grabbed my shoulder. Dan, what are you doing here? I turned and saw that it was my older brother. He moved out a year ago. Since then I haven't seen or heard from him. Michael, listen to me, Dan, he cut in, leaning in towards me. This isn't a good fit for you. Just go home and forget about this. After a whole year of isolation, my brother there sees me and immediately tries to send me away. This is exactly what I mean. I'm not going anywhere, Mike. I was invited. I shrugged off his hand and stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed I saw him one last time. All I could see was sadness in his eyes. I immediately regretted how I treated him, but I can't let him ruin this for me. This was the first time I got acknowledged by anyone. The elevators opened into a dark penthouse, illuminated by red light. The group filed into the big room, but I hesitated getting out the elevator. Something didn't feel right. It didn't take long for me to be pushed out by the people behind me, being consumed by the reddish darkness of the room. I could see that we were on the top floor now, as the glass wall revealed the tops of neighboring skyscrapers lighted brilliantly. What really caught my eye was the obsidian table in the middle of the room, and who was sitting at it. A man in a suit sat still as stone, and he wore a strange mask. It was a roundish cat mask, and the mouth was completely open, revealing sharpened teeth. As I stated, something began to brush on my leg, and I jumped. A black cat looked up at me, baring teeth just like the man in the mask. "Don't mind the cat," the masked man said. "He's friendly to new faces." "Who are you?" I asked. "What is the point of this group?" "I am the founder of the Gentlemen's Club. Our purpose is to serve the greater good, through serving ourselves." As I was about to ask another question, he raised a hand which made me stop. He got up and gestured around the room. "Look around you, Mr. Summers. All of these men are great businessmen, some of the best at what they do. I admit I was excited to add you to this group as one of those members, but it seems that your story is invalid." "What are you talking about?" "I quiet," he growled, putting me into silence. My heart was beating out my chest, and I was sweating a lot, but I tried my best to look composed. "We know all about you, Mr. Summers, your tragic life, your hobbies and interests, about your brother." As he said that, the second set of elevators opened up and the rest of the group came into the room silently. I looked back to see Michael, holding something shiny in his hand. "Sadly, Mr. Summers, I can't have loose ends in the form of children, running around and talking about this. And we also need a sacrifice just like you." My heart stopped as I heard this. What the hell did I get myself into? Snapping out of the trance I was in, I turned and ran to the elevator, but didn't make it far. It only took two of the suited men to overpower me. I was never really strong. "Bring him here," the masked man said. "It's time." The men lifted me up and slammed me on the obsidian table, knocking the air out of me. I was too dazed to notice that my brother had walked up to the table, holding something over me. The other men began to speak in tongues, and I was on my way to fainting. "Do it," the man said to Michael. "I will not keep our master waiting." I can't." My brother dropped his hands. "No. I won't." He dropped the object in his hand and looked into the mask of the man. "Then you shall replace him," the masked man said, pushing me off the table. From what I could see through dazed eyes, my brother put up a better fight than I did, actually taking down two of the men. Eventually they overpowered him too, and placed him on the table, binding each hand. "Mr. Summers, this is where you prove yourself to us," the man said, lifting me up and handing me the thing that my brother dropped. It was a knife. "You can sacrifice him, and join us to live the life you pretend to have. Or you can die here with him, staying invisible and unknown forever." They tore Michael's shirt off to reveal his bare chest. He was struggling violently against the binds they put on him. "Dan, don't listen to him. He just want to use you," my brother yelled. The man said nothing. "Choose your destiny, here and now." The man patted me on the back, and took a step away. I walked towards my brother on the table, who was tiring himself out by struggling. Where I saw sadness, now I also saw fear, anger, betrayal. "Dan, please. I have no choice," I protested. "Yes you do." He shot back. I suppose he was right. I could die there with him, and not many people would know or care. I wanted the life that this man in a cat mask promised me. I was finally worth something here. I made up my mind. "Mike, I'm sorry." I raised the knife over my head, then closed my eyes.